Alright, let's assume for a second that you are on a budget, and we all are, kinda, right? Chances are that you won't spend $4,000 or $3,000 for a camera if you want to make some videos, if you want to shoot some videos for YouTube, right? So today I put together a pretty decent but budget-friendly video setup. We are looking at the Sony a7S Mark I, and since I use a lens that is pretty affordable and very good, and as you can see, the look of this lens is absolutely fantastic. This combination now costs about $450. It's the Sony a7S Mark I. It's the Helios 44-2, 58 f2 at f4, and I got a lavalier microphone now connected to the Rode Wireless Me, but you would not need this in particular. You could use an external recorder. And with this lens and this camera you can shoot amazing videos since you do not have and need autofocus. The autofocus of the Sony a7S is not that good, and you would be wondering constantly if you are in focus or not. But since we are on a system like that today, I set the focus up front, so there you do not even need a monitor. And this can calm you down if you are sure that you are in focus. You would need something like a twin or double of yourself or someone behind the camera to get you in focus. Me personally, I use a twin for that. It's like a styrofoam head that I set up on a lamp post, on a lamp stand, a light stand. It's a light stand that I still got from my studio back in 2015. And I use this head to get me in focus. So with this combination you can shoot amazing video, you can shoot amazing, you can even shoot a movie. The low light capabilities of this camera are so great that I still use them to this day when shooting something inside. All the other cameras that I own, maybe the Canon C100 Mark II, it's also good, but the higher megapixel cameras like the Nikon ZF, like the Fuji X-T3, yeah, the Panasonic S1, they are not that good for indoor shooting. With the base ISO of this camera of 3200 ISO, even if it's not perfectly lit, which indoors oftentimes is the case, or at least I, had to close down the aperture. With the other cameras, the footage was not that good in conditions like that. My house is not flooded with light. It's an older house, German style, so there are no windows that go from the roof to the floor, right? So I got regular windows, and when it gets autumn, winter, then it tends to be a little bit dark, and fluorescent lights, I do not like the even color of that. I do not like the lack of contrast. Shooting outside like this today, I have no problems. Of course, you can always close down the aperture a bit, but you can shoot, as you can see, also amazing black and white footage. And if you're into that, which I am, I shoot a lot of black and white photos and a lot of black and white video. This combination is absolutely fantastic and it's affordable. So let's check out if my twin and I can set up the focus right for the next shot. I really need to clean this meadow here. It was hard to find a spot because everything was frozen, and so there's quite a good amount of dog duty, and there was my twin. I hope it did not fall into some dog duty. So as you can see, if you get the focus right, which I may or may not, well, I may not had it right in the first shot, but in this shot I'm now farther away from the camera and it still provides a fantastic look. Of course, autofocus is very handy, but it is on a scale, right? Convenience, looks. If you want to shoot yourself vlogging style, you need autofocus in my opinion. But if you want to make some YouTube movies, some videos, some good photography even, with this camera you can do it. And if you're on a budget, this is still a very good option. I made a lot of videos with the Sony a7S and the autofocus worked usable. It's by no means perfect and it works alright with the native lenses. Well, I did not buy it for the autofocus capabilities. I knew when I bought this camera back then that the autofocus, for the time it was alright, but there were better options. Even the 6000, the A6000 had better autofocus than this one. So that's not the reason. But the look of this camera is way better. More modern cameras, they tend to over-sharpen, they tend to cramp all their capabilities onto a smaller sensor. With this full-frame 12 megapixel sensor, you have a lot of room for larger, light-sensitive cells, so to say. And this is why this is so good in low light. And in the combination, if you're on a budget and you want to have a good effect, you want to have the almost three-dimensional look, or it's not three-dimensional. I always I described it as 3D pop, yes, and a lot of people do, but is it really three-dimensional? It cannot be, because we have two eyes, we cannot see three-dimensional. It's just the perception of our brain. It tricks us into that. But what these lenses do, this lens in particular, or similar lenses, they produce an image that is not dead. It is true to life. It is something that is almost wrapped around the scene, wrapped around the subject. For me, it feels like I want to wrap myself inside this slide, like when I shot medium format, for example, or wet plate. So this is the effect that I'm looking for. Who is this combination for? It's hard to tell. If you want a camera with excellent autofocus and the same, even better low light capabilities, then get the Sony A7S III. But it's very expensive still, even though it is old. Yeah. So with this one, you won't do anything wrong. I think it's about 400. If you're lucky, you get it for 400 euros or dollars. And the A7S III is still 2,000 upwards. Sometimes a little lower than 2,000. So if you want to start out, and I got a comment recently that someone started out with this camera and now figuring out how to use it and how to get the full potential of this camera. Do it. It's still a very good one. If you do not need capable autofocus, if you need that, and if you cannot live without that, then this budget-friendly option won't be an option for you. And this is the twin I was talking about. So I use this when I use manual lenses or autofocus lenses, but with cameras where I do not trust the autofocus, like the Panasonic S1 or the A7S. So, this being said, you can enjoy cameras like this. It doesn't have to be the latest model all the time. Most people won't need the specs of the most modern cameras, of the most recent cameras. For 90% of the people it would be enough, but I know, as humans, we tend to think that we need it. We tend to think that we need the most recent things in order to get good videos or good photos. Huh? I know that, and I was a victim to that myself. And so you are looking for gear constantly. You are comparing instead of shooting. You are watching videos instead of, making some videos instead of creating. You're comparing. And yes, I did it myself. If you really want to create something, then the things that you already have are the best. It's like if you really want to paint, if a child wants to paint something, want to draw something, it doesn't need a smart board with a smart pen or an iPad Pro to draw, right? It just takes a stone and carves something into another stone, or it takes some chalk or whatever it can get its hands onto. No? So if you really want to do something, you will find a way to do it. You hear that? I know you hear that. Of all the time, of all the possible hours that we have daylight, it's now noon. Where I live, people are very, they need their noon time. And noon time meaning from about 12 to 2 or 1 to 2, there is kind of a break with everything because everything has to be silent. We call it Mittagsruhe. There's someone collecting mobile toilets. In Germany, we would call this Klomann. You could call it Kloman. Yeah. So I have to wait. But as I was saying, most of the time, looking for the next expensive gear or the best camera, the best lenses, it's just wasting, it's procrastinating. If you really want to take some pictures, if you really want to, like this child in my analogy, if you want to draw, you find something to draw, if it is because you want to draw. If you need a smartboard and a smart pen or an iPad to draw, then it is not about drawing, it's about the iPad. It's like when we were children, right? Yes, I need this for school so that I can make my homework on that new tablet. I need it for school. So, no, too bad that I need it for school. I did not want this iPad, but I need it for school so that I can make my homework. Right? It's the same. Just get a camera, go shoot something. Get what fits your needs, get what fits your aesthetic needs. When I started photography, I used the cameras that my parents got. And these were not the best, of course not. But it was about taking pictures and seeing what I did. You do not need the most expensive stuff, the most expensive lenses. And this could be a good option if you want to make some videos, if you want to make some photos. Try it out, use it. Just get a lens. If you want an aesthetic lens, get an old one or get a cheap one. There are rarely cheap ones for Sony E-mount that are good. So adapt an old lens. Go out and shoot. Use a manual lens. And just do it. Like the kid, just take a rock and carve something into a stone. And you have drawn something. Take a piece of chalk and draw something. You do not need a smartboard. So just relax, calm down, try it out if you're on a budget, or even if you're not. If you want to simplify everything, just use a camera like that and a manual lens and you're good to go. You can have so much fun with it. Infinite potential. Not infinite potential in regards to specs. No 4K and so on, no slow-mo. But as I said, most people won't ever need it. You want a camera and you are debating. This camera has 24 frames per second in Full HD or even 120 in 4K and so on, and you're debating, but this camera only has 60, and this debating doesn't mean anything because most of the time you won't need it, right? If you want to shoot animals, wildlife and so on, and you need slow motion, then of course, but for 90% of the people, the Nikon Z6 is more than enough for 90% of the people. 90% of the users, they won't need more specs on that. And it's not better because it's newer. You get my point. With this being said, one love, like and subscribe if you want, and stay tuned. And now I will demount the A7S and feed my dogs. They are still good in 2025, I believe. I hope.